Hi guys and welcome to your NXT review for this week. Um, so to start us off, guys, I just want to do a brief um summary of this episode before we get into the meat and potatoes of it. I thought that a show was the best show of the year so far in terms of character development and match quality. You don't see this on the main shows too often, and I feel NXT stepped up a gear. Now I enjoyed the last week's show, but this is head and shoulders a better show overall than NXT from last week. So to start us off, guys, we get a intro package reminding everybody JC Jane's title reign so far when she knocked off MO MO in the last weekend when she knocked off a character and the belt. Um, it's I stand with a little TikTok video of J.C. Jane talking about how dominant she's been as NXT champion so far, and about how she managed to knock off Stephanie Vick Aaron that nobody believed. And then we jump into the very first match of the night between Jada Parker and Hill. Now this match was a very back and forth contest. Both these put a lot out here, and since I'm not a professional so I won't go into too much detail about the in-ring arc, but like I enjoyed a match for what it was. I felt it was a good, I felt it was a good match. Both, I feel as though both get a lot of offense and you had them, yeah, he'll kind of do some of that erratic style she's not on for, whereas Ada Parker's kind of more on the gritty style, and yeah, he'll on a couple of occasions attempted to do mural walk on Jada Parker, the first the first I'm the first time Jada was able to shrug it off, but the second time um the second time Jada phantom taps, and the reason why I say it was a phantom tap, guys, is the referee and kayfabe didn't see it. So what it does is what it does is allows the match to continue. Jada Parker gets the win with the hypnotic is yeah, he continues to pull her case to the referee. Um, so I should as that Jada comes in with if the hypnotic and say 1, 3 and Parker qualifies for the Fatal 4-Way for next week. As I mentioned, qualifiers will take place throughout the night. I mentioned that in the last 2 weeks review. Um, correct decision as he seemed to be building up Trader Parker to right well, but um it also protects your heel as well, and in the back you see Elijah um Lola and Josh, but just get ready for the match. So Elijah gets his team prepped on the match. You see Tarek Williams come in to shot him and Elijah exchange on a few on and and then yeah, and then comes Obafemi, and Obafemi comes and he says good luck tonight, um, and um, and Chirac basically says Mo Quinton as to each champ, and essentially TC is a unification match between uh, Rosemary Ekinen between the TNA and the TNA World Heavyweight Championship and the NXT Championship. Um, because thinking now that TEO are quietly putting in an offer for DNA because because it just has that air around it, and I wouldn't be too surprised if it happens. But we go to we go to our next match, which is Ashel Legend and Kilani Jordan. Again, Kilani puts up a decent fight, but Ash at the minute seems to be getting pushed a bit further on, and it's about time because she has a lot of presence about her. She's good with on the mic. She's very highly athletic. Killer Annie does hit a few aggressive moves in the match, like a couple of drop kicks, etc. Whereas Ash is more heavy hitting, as you know, or arms to the chest area. She then powers Jordan down low on in the match and gets them in. It's a showcase. Um, it's a showcase of the next in program as obviously Ashley Agent Hill aid for the women's NBA. I can't remember off the top of my head who she played for, but I know she competed in that league. And Kalani Jordan is obviously is obviously for that from a gymnastic background. Um, so it's a real show. Okay, so the next in line program, you have Jada Parker previous um in the previous match who the under 17s for the women's national football team, and that sock to you Americans out here. But yeah, so a real showcase in the first, uh, in the first matches, in the in the back we see a case ain't desperate to get to Ethan Page for the rematch for the NXT North American title. Oh, as we seen as we seen a bit earlier on another um package reminding the and about what happened in the title bout. Um, but like Ethan Page is obviously a foul act by Vanity Project, Bradbury, Bradbury, Arja Action Jerry can oh obviously obviously Jack Action Jerry types up and says before you have to go through him to get your title but you have to go through E for the NXT you have to go through me for the and you have to go over me and never all. So that should be a good match between Jackson, Drake, and obviously the Casey Ince. But the in a son, he actually um actually he comes into show and Ricky Saints challenge is him to um, to a match next week, and it's obvious nobody on the heel side of the locker room wants anything to do with Fashion so this challenge is only between those the rest actually vacate the room. Um, so then we get to the Tony D'Angelo Lukaku Safino stuff from last week. Obviously and to get a recap of the past few months and obviously and obviously when we come back from the break you see Tony in the ring and he calls out Lukaku Safino and obviously the and obviously Tony he will wants to know where he stands um and quite honestly, it's been a bit ambiguous, but it's done intentionally for the purpose of storytelling. Obviously, Tony D. references what happened at Battleground and what happened in Vegas, standing deliver to Lukaku Safino Safino tells D'Angelo that he was kidnapped, up, and put in the boot of the car, um, and basically released after that out in the desert. Nothing happened. Outcomes Channing Stacks or Lorenzo, who has been feuding with Tony ever since the Axe broke away. Axe continues to disturb the plot between Lucifino and obviously Tony E. And obviously and and obviously he stacks as like his mum. I can say to you, oh, Eddie, or however you pronounce that, or do not use me, you know, you can go, yeah, but I can know on, so you can do the right thing and do the right thing and come home. Obviously, obviously, the access still, is act by henchmen who are presumably local, Orlando and so to only D'Angelo and Josefino take either these or um and and obviously the stacks starts getting the better of D'Angelo or Josefino tries to assist D'Angelo or he attempts to punch Channing's the Axel Lorenzo, but ends up punching Tony D'Angelo, and that's the end of the segment. Obviously, obviously in the back you see, obviously in the back you see Trick Williams talking to first or ass. Walking to first as an AJ for answers actually is says he never Aro got injured in training and Navarro confirms as but we did fi- but we did find you a tag partner for tonight and that being so know so he himself actually he said during a segment he's got a history with ENA. Nobody knows ENA better than he. Trick Williams is a bit hesitant at first, but then it's actually it says it will East now TNA has an actual superstar as champion, so but only points and so but only points the so but only points the yeah, I suppose so that kind of smooths over so when so he's now the replacement partner. So yeah, we'll get to that match in a bit, but now we go to the chase you able and Chase Uso so far since reforming have been a bit of a squid. Um, he'll Jackson and you're I on as I think will understand as this segment obviously action interrupts Andre he chases as he's given another lecture he obviously he had um introduced the two adds into the university um of the of his week the accent keeps asking him questions but on hurry refuses to answer um and it ends up and it ends up on he snaps and he says it's not just about education, it's about it's about being fucking off. Obviously, killed action in your corners, who leave the universe after and and before they walk out, they say that that's very disappointing. I think with the as I think with this for action, you'll start to see a heel sort of action, a heel sort of action between Kale action on jury chasing you right yeah, a corner us. So hopefully we get a bit of development on that because if we don't get development on then the sort of from Asian or chase who's kind of pointless and shout out to um shout out to your so shout out to your so and who actually came up with that very serious he's a great YouTuber and he covers or and SmackDown etc. So check him out. But yeah, I, but yeah, I tend to actually read that this is where Chase you are heading, and hopefully they do because it needs that sort of character development, and it doesn't have it, it doesn't have the original Chase you as in his honor anymore. So that this would be a good sort of this would be a sort of character development and obviously the action and on us have actually changed Andre Chase's image a bit so maybe all of this ties into heel on so so yeah uh, and obviously before or when we get into next month and obviously before we get into next match I have a couple of points to it throughout the night will you see he you see the hype building from Orion Easter or Rock it's on was on track sign in throughout the night where you see him couple come under one carpet on the red carpet with paparazzi etc. She show was up to the NXT performance center enough and are actually so I other video in dresses well but like I know that there's a bit of a I know that was a bit of a vocal point and that Ian Sean spoke about earlier in the private chat that we have the two of us chat wrestle and all the time. I think I've actually converted them into being or I am if and but that's besides the point. Let me know one of the key moments. Sean, as I've said previously, she's one of the best or so on earth at the minute. And I think she'll help enhance the women's division. Obviously, in the back is where you see, you see the general managers of NXT and of having a conversation about next week's about next week's fatal or either the end over here's an argument between Rufino and only and Tony D'Angelo. Oh, um, obviously so it's either be basically is shouting on the own inviting the two and their office um inviting and our office and only to um and and both Tony yeah Angelo and Josefino Amanda Archie's um um and Archie's against Channing Stacks Lorenzo, but it's a no and as Stacks has a heritage cut up match. It's revealed with if no one are so yeah that's a match for next so that's a match for next week. Tony D'Angelo's like, hang on for on a minute. I'm a for our Heritage Cup champion. Sta how come Stacks jumps so um how come Stacks jumps so aiming to get a Heritage Cup match, either the NXT in soccer as a action. So yeah, that's so that's about the size of it, and D'Angelo and uses Eva um and and uses Eva being a hooks if Channing Stacks Lorenzo, and it kinda feeds into the paranoia of Tony Yi. Interesting and awful. I haven't seen Adrian or Izzo since she was kinda taken to the D'Angelo if house. I imagine I'll imagine she she reconfigures into the story in some point unless she's been released, but um but yeah, I don't see that happening because it would be pretty stupid if that was the case, because there's a lot of ale each you could have if Adriana is on this storyline. It's just a matter of and she appears, but I kind of hope she does as well to kind of give this a bit more on the book on, so to speak. So now it's a X-Man tag match. But um, so now it's a six-man tag match, but in our Aja at Ura and um obviously Josh Riggs, and on the other side you have AJ for answers formerly talked to all uh, you have you have Chadwick Williams, and you have so E now now the asthma now the asthma actually is very interesting. It was very fast paced, and the reason why I say is interesting is because as be, as because of the fact that um um because of the fact that it was Atamura that got the pin for this Ash on Chirac Williams, but he then said enters the DNA title shot over to Josh her eggs. Obviously, is Santino Mariel hears about this and sanctions the DNA title match for next week in NXT. A bit bizarre that you would sit and or your title opportunity, but at Uras as he has ambitions of being the NXT champion. I um, he wants Josh Briggs to go after the TNA championship, and obviously the both of Kinema imagine being champions of two organizations. So that's official for next week as we find out later on. Obviously, obviously, is you get the no, you get the UCC, the no, or or catch through having um having another discussion Yvonne Evans is in the X and obviously it Evian hates actually actually well, it has is the child in the say about um and the child with the saying the anything here about even the faction but the child with the say ripple Ozzy's a match against on Evans and he says if you can beat Yvonne Evans then that's it you are out of the no or or catch or and I would imagine it's a very competitive match next week, but obviously I think Carl he I think will end up will end up or earn heights out of that opportunity because he's already lost him. He was on, so I'm imagine so I'm imagining there'll be an insecurity complex if Charlie with empty. So yeah, that'll be a pretty decent match, and then the and you see just as Butcher I um come in the show and like the other he's have a few which a match between Asper or Troy and Jeff on Evans. Now that's my match I think will be more physical but that's down but that's down the line. I think uh, um think it would be a big statement and if Troy could eat Giovanni Evans because Yvonne's always in the higher up of the card. He's always is in amongst to the title picture. So eventually that will be so eventually that will be a feud. Yvonne actually he said um Yvonne actually said this statement performance a statement performance in a losing or against against Oberfemi as to you could just ask her and you should be her out and sure I just basically is answer and then says you meet what and you be careful with and I'm 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 or and in the back before Um, and the back before the area comes out, um, comes out or match against Eddie. Um, you see that we're having a discussion about the TikTok video from last week on up in air to Jada Parker and yeah, Hales on Asian. So yeah, they have a chat about uh obviously heading in the travel ACCC and Tatum back so in the back of her head out and then and it's the match and even and can take can take oh, is obviously is obviously is the area as the first half of the match under our control as they aim its control over the second half and it Zaria down route the ad break and as always if you're a net um as always if you're a net well, X amount of NXT you get to see that portion of them actually able to see above you is on your ad right so that's but it's obviously obviously the area hits and people expectatum packs so he distractions or who's on the inside she tries a hug she tries a hug she tries a hugs area she tries to hug the area eating pack so he's a one hunt or a um or a rent and Gigi Ian shots he got the release under the back a bit way or on you see in the back a bit way or on you see area and so actually chastised is um or Austin um or cost in the area the moment or Austin's area the moment action getting into the fatal four. Eh, I think eventually, oh, I think it will lead um, so and Zaria sort of you eventually, because eventually you're gonna have to put the of American women's um, um, on Zaria because you're putting Zaria a hefty contract. So that'll be a solo so that'll be a solo upon development into the it, as as oh actually uh, I think as he is trying to run into the oh and you can see the you can see very well, you know he as I said as I said in the previous or video that as these kind of the or into the outfit. She's very manipulative, very unimpactful. You just start showing me wants a friend and she wants to be killed. It then so anxiety talks, but as they did and said they don't want you but Aberdeen isn't Jiu-Jitsu. So again, and that's the that's the type of manipulation you, you see um as a and yeah it'd be interesting to see a heel pack so and because it altered them so of the she has this kind of and it's worse and yeah it'd be more interesting to see she's already got that kind of authentic persona anyway that would fit that ac- action so yeah um so yeah now it's time for so yeah now it's time for all of Ace and Jordan or is again a very competitive again a very competitive match and it's obvious that Jordan was all is gonna go over and be the and if Sherry in the favour us here and be entered into the fatal four. He all fire for Eugene evolution, um, but at the same point, I was kind of rooting for I was kind of rooting for all of Aisen and this match because she's actually up her game. She's added new bits of offense. Very, very deep into the match. She hits a high number to own until on the end of the match and then the end for all was up for and then for all was up for around house uh, and obviously Jordan kicks it out and then he's hit some after drive of any similar to the pin. A driver, I forget what she calls hers, but Jordan Gray is obviously he gets a bit and advances to next door. He, I just kind of did maybe put did me eh, um I just kind of I should put a stir or upon advice. She deserves a title, and I mean, but or she's been stepping up. She did. She put in a good performance at the World Skill. I am special and um essentially she's her moving, she's good on them, I etc. But, um, so I don't really get what the hang up upon her or is. I think I think eventually they are going to have to do something if or eventually because she's far too talented not she's got a very interesting she's got very interesting style. She mixes her MMA background and kickboxing background into a professional wrestling matches. So yeah, she is the MVP of the night, and it's the shame that she's not had a belt yet because she's talented, and I did actually make a pitch video with her. I think she'd be a good manager for Orange Andrade. I did that a couple of months. I did that a couple of months back, and and so there's potential if but unfortunately the higher ups at NXT once and I kinda knew that Jordan Grace is only is only advance a very high a very high salary contract. She's already announced recognized wrestler and so that's kind of I should advance and I think she'll be the favourite to win the fatal four in against Jane into the round off and around often eight you see well, oh, eight you see eight another was ein par NXT contract. She talks about a childhood dream, a childhood dream of being in WWE. That movie is kind of a as she has said on a few occasions on social media, yeah, and an of the years. Um, she also hyped up the women's vision and it's rather and it comes to ECG in and fatal and Phil and Jasmine X and Fallon Henry company her and JC and gets on them and says here's my title celebration I'm the champion and then and she says ik mo another or how you're just the way it is and you're just the way it is oh, for them on and obviously another or James back if either sense so actually say Jane and Fatal and the fuck when begins a assault she ekes out as minimum of ease but Henry in corrupted W or an odd if I am the W or an odd if um really um really if all ends episode and I think actually that'll be I think that'll be a brilliant I think that'll be a brilliant because both of them are good in the ring and on promos and and I think Mariah is the perfect oil to take the L JCJ in because as I've said, Mariah as a phenomenal as a phenomenal wrestler. Or I think they got the one Ikma and the rope presentation or even the theme songs it's the carry or and I know I'm not used to giving for Bull any credit but credit when it's due and you did get that Eames Eames on shame about the other if and obviously that ends them obviously that ends the episode and I have to actually say guys I give this episode for my hearts and out of a possible and I think I think it served its purpose for hyping up evolution and I also gave it also gave an also gave an insight into the future direction and obviously the matches I felt like out of a high standard that you don't get on or on Smack. And so yeah, I give this I give this the full compliment. So guys, like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you over very soon.